Laying out all the parts and taking a closer look at the bearings, we can almost certainly see what caused the knocking noise that this engine had exhibited. That is, number one big end bearing has failed rather badly. It's heavily scored and the surface alloy material has come away, revealing a slightly coppery coloured layer. And unfortunately the respective crank pin is also quite badly scored. Numbers 2 and 3 big ends are okay. The respective crank pins probably just need a bit of a polish. And number 4 big end is again scored like number 1, but not quite so bad. But the crank pin does have some score marks in it that I can feel with my finger. Interesting, number 2 piston, whilst pushing it out, I broke the top piston ring. I don't think it was broken beforehand, but it must have broken when it caught the wear lip at the top of the cylinder. The main bearings, well, they all look worn. They all show through a slight coppery colour, particularly the rearmost and centre bearings, them being the most worn. And the respective crank journals for the rearmost and centre are scored. Only the front journal is smooth with no scoring marks at all. You can see the bottom half of the rearmost main bearing, like the number 1 big end, has started to break up. The thrust bearings, well, we know they're worn because the end float was far too great. So now I've got to measure up the crankshaft, get in touch with the machine shop or a couple of machine shops, see what needs doing, and almost certainly some grinding and balancing and then polishing. But hopefully we can reuse that crankshaft, as overall it doesn't look too bad. The camshaft all looks fine, can't see any problems there. Interestingly, there are no bearings for it to run on in the crankcase. And looking at some spares that I have in stock, I've got some main bearings here. Van der Velde and Glacier. Apparently Van der Velde are better. You can clearly see a difference there in the material on the surface. Apparently Van der Velde bearings are the better ones to use, and they are the ones that I used in the original engine. They're marked VP on the back. And generally I think they're more forgiving if you rebuild an engine. There are modern ones available. County is one of the manufacturers I've heard of, but I'd better do a bit more research but in any case I'm going to need some undersized bearings for my crankshaft.